You're good to go.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. I have a recommendation that the agenda for the Special Police Services Board meeting of June 17th, 2021 be accepted as presented. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Mike, seconded by Brett. All those in favor? Okay, it's passed. Let's move on to the staff report on the community safety and well-being plan. I'm sure there's discussion about this. Sorry.
So if you'd like, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to kind of just walk through this one.
Please do.
Thank you very much. So this is an initiative that we partnered with the 10 other lower tier municipalities in Leeds and Grenville. We all use the OPP as our police service. And so a lot of the other complementary service bodies and organizations would also be using throughout Leeds and Grenville. So it made sense to bring everyone to the same table and have those discussions. And really what you see in front of you is the culmination of those meetings and surveys and suggestions. So when you go through the report, it clearly identifies some needs throughout Leeds and Grenville and more specifically as well in Prescott. But when you get to the very end of the report, I provided a separate kind of implementation plan that differs slightly from the one that's in the plan itself. And really it's more Prescott specific and what we can do to take the recommendations from the plan and address them here in Prescott. So when you take a look at that, and I believe it starts in and around page 80, and so it talks about collaboration of partners, and it would make sense that we would sit at a multi-sectoral community planning table to really talk about these types of things. But when it talks about poverty, we're in the process of working on an economic development strategy plan. So, and that should be done later this fall. And so we'll really speak to some of those addressing those target strategies for lone parent families. Unemployment, there again, a strategic plan in progress, and we're working with CSE as was part of that kind of focus. Transportation, we're already working on an intermunicipal transit pilot that should be rolling out in the next couple of months. And we're working with our partners from Brockville, Augusta, Edwardsburg, Cardinal, and ourselves, and receive funding from the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council. Housing and homelessness, we're going through our official plan review and bylaw, zoning bylaw updates. So those are obviously two major documents that help support housing and homelessness, as well as the work that's being done at the county level when it comes to this. Rural inclusion, we're continuing to work with Augusta. Obviously, rural inclusion for the town of Prescott is we don't have much in the way of rural, but working with our neighboring municipalities, certainly realizing that when it comes to South Grenville in this area, that Prescott tends to be the commercial hub. So that way, how can we bring those individuals together, as well as we're turning into a recreation hub. So we have a great waterfront, we have great facilities, we'll have a recreation complex. And so there again, it's that rural bringing it all together, and how can Prescott help support that. Prior to early years, so we're looking at putting in a youth engagement committee or advisory group, and we're starting to work with the YMCA as a pool partnership, and then looking beyond that. And then Connect Youth is obviously a strategic partner for us as well. Youth, very similar to, as I just mentioned, about the early years. Seniors, we have Walker House. The new recreation complex is much more of a multi-generational focus, as opposed to simply, that demographic that might just use an arena. So we're looking at pickleball. We're looking at, obviously, the walking track will be very advantageous. The multi-purpose rooms are really geared towards being able to not just focus on that younger generation, or the ones that remain active in their mid years, but that full gambit. And so really we see that as being a strategic benefit as we move forward. And then in Indigenous people, again, I think we need to throughout the last month and what's occurred, but really focus part of that on our cultural and historical learning. And maybe we bring that in as part of the museum. And so we have the opportunity now to refocus the museum and that sort of thing. So bringing in either traveling exhibits as well as speakers to be able to really talk about that in Prescott. We don't have a large Indigenous community, but certainly I think we can act as a catalyst to be able to help support that overall learning and understanding. When we get to physical health, mental health and substance, what we are suggesting is staff from the town of Prescott, OPP, Victim Services, as well as Leeds Grenville Mental Health and Addictions would meet on a monthly basis, go through any issues. So a lot of times those organizations will end up working with residents on different issues. And so trying to coordinate that, trying to be able to identify that people might be struggling or might be having an issue. And really that's one of the focuses, just being able to sit down once a month, say, it might manifest itself in a property dispute or a property standards issue, but there might be extenuating circumstances. So how can we work together as a group to be able to really support that, come out with a positive outcome and really address the underlying issues? So I think that when we talk about mental health and that focus and substance abuse, that was really what we were thinking, is having that collaborative once a month meeting. And certainly the OPP has a community engagement officer as well as working with mental health. And so we met with them earlier earlier this week on a couple of files that we've been working on, and it was a very collaborative approach, and being able to identify perhaps things that haven't hit their desk yet, but we're seeing as possible issues. And so I think it's a really fantastic way to work collaboratively on that. And then again, also working on the domestic violence victims, human trafficking. It would be a bit of an approach of that collaborative table, as well as the police services board and analysis of the calls for service, being able to see if there's trends, being able to address them as we move along. And then finally, when it comes to domestic violence, support of children in care or families, working with the Family and Children and Youth Connect, and being able to really address some of those situations that might be occurring here in Prescott. And being able to, and that's one of our other focuses of our youth engagement, is to be able to provide or develop the types of services. And maybe it's not the town providing the service, but if we can collaborate with partners or bring partners in from other communities to provide programming that really helps provide a safe and welcoming environment for kids and families, then I think that's really key as well. So we really want to take what had been done from a study perspective throughout the United Counties, and then say, how would we implement that for Prescott? And so really that's, I think, maybe the focus of what we'd like to get some feedback on, and see if we're going down the right path on the implementation plan. And then if we are, then certainly bring that back to council, as that would be kind of our marching orders for the next focus for not only PSB, but for some of the internal work that we're doing as well here at the town of Prescott. Thank you.
Any questions or observations, concerns?
Yeah, I can jump in first, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank Matthew for going through that extensive report done by the committee. It looks good to me. My only concern is what the counties are going to do here at the end of this, because their recommendation is, hiring a staff member, setting up a committee with, I think, Mayor Jones as the chair. So from that side of things, if we're going to participate, I think there will likely, depending on if counties hasn't endorsed that yet, so we're not 100% sure where they're going with it, but it obviously has some support. So I'm just maybe a little bit concerned there's going to be a relatively significant enough price tag and a lot of additional bureaucratic responsibilities here. I mean, even what Matt's proposed here with, how we deal with this. I mean, there's someone's going to have to be on our staff to kind of pull a lot of this together. And it just seems like it's a extreme amount of work. Not that to say that some of it wouldn't be valuable work, but it does add a level of bureaucracy to ourselves and the United Counties that does concern me a little bit, especially given the challenges we've had with joint services in recent years. Adding something like this to it, which would almost certainly, I would think, have to live at the joint services level if Brockville, Gannon, and Prescott are involved at the end of the day, which is what I believe is proposed here. They do want to engage the other separated as well. So it's interesting process overall. There's some good stuff being pulled out of it, but it's a lot of stuff, and it does make me concerned. It's almost like this real feature creep here, because everyone sort of backed into this when the current government supported what the last government put in place, and I think there was some hope that they might pull back from it, seeing it as added responsibility for us and added cost at the end of the day. But we're here where we are, and it's gonna be interesting to see how this rolls out and what the final response is with the United Counties overall, and what they're looking for. Because anything we do here to be collaborative, I think there will be a bit of a price tag attached. So there will be a coordinator hired from the sounds of it with counties. So anyways, just my observations, Mr. Chair. Thank you. And thanks to Matt for putting this together. I agree with the strategic actions. I just, the implementation, I think, still sort of up in the air.
Any other input? Mike, please.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I sat in on the, excuse me, the United Counties presentations to the mayors, I guess it was primarily, but to the county's council. And it's very comprehensive. It's far-ranging. It's I won't say it's futuristic, but it certainly covers everything. And I go along with the mayor that the rollout and the implementation could be a bit of an issue as far as individual councils' responsibilities and where we fit in the grand scheme of things. So, but it's very, very thorough. I don't think anything has been overlooked or sidestepped at all. It's a very thorough document and well done.
Matt, do you have anything to add?
No, I think while we would collaborate in certain initiatives, I think we would absolutely, I think focus on Prescott specific actions. And so, I think, there's a time and place for when we would engage countywide tables and collaborative approaches. But then certainly I think my understanding is we were supposed to do this from a community standpoint, and that's really where we would like to focus. And kind of on a monthly basis, we report back to PSB to say, how are these things coming along? What are we looking at? That sort of thing. And then also that reports up to council through the minutes and whatnot. So I think that's really where we would like to focus. And a lot of those things, the strategic plan is already in progress. The transportation's in progress. The creation of that discussion table, specific to Prescott, dealing with not only crime but human trafficking, mental health, that sort of thing. So I think that really, again, speaks to how we're trying to focus on specific situations and being able to drive a positive outcome for Prescott. And without a doubt, when we would take a look at homelessness and affordable housing, things like that, I think that there's a broader understanding and approach that we need to take. But at the same time, there's certain things that we can do from our official plan and zoning bylaw to be able to address them as well.
Okay. Well, there's a motion. Could I have somebody move? The recommendation is that the Prescott Police Services Board recommend that council approve the community safety and well-being plan as presented in the staff report. Mike moved, seconded by Brett. All those in favor?
I haven't seconded it yet, Stan. I just,
Have you? I'm sorry, you were on mute. I thought I saw your lips move.
yeah, and it was, well, there's good reason I was on mute. I will support it, but I have real concerns about how this is going to roll out, the overall implementation, and I'm fine to support it for now. But when we get to the council table with this, there are more questions than answers, and it's nothing to do with what Matt's put together here, because it's a great summary of everything. But when I look at a report like this, and I don't take any issue with anybody at the table with it, but when all I see are we're going to enhance this, we're going to coordinate that, we're going to coordinate this. At the end of the day, and this would be the step beyond the study, I guess, when you get to implementation and you're looking at actual activities and goals. But we're going down a road here that could be positive, but at the same time, it's the goals are not incredibly well defined, and it's you're presented with something that is still so fuzzy that it's just hard to it's, I don't know, maybe it's the wording of support, but I'm fine with it for now, and wording of it for approve. I'm fine with it now, but I've got real reservations about the entire, how the process is rolled out and how this could be implemented right now, because it really does seem like a huge level of added bureaucracy to coordinate everything that, did we need this level of coordination? I mean, I've never heard anybody crying out for coordinating some of the things that are in here until we were forced to do the study. And then of course you pay someone to do the study, you're going to get recommendations that buy into that. And, the standard bureaucratic creep. So anyways, that's, I guess, a really long-winded, annoying way of saying I'll support it, but with reservations.
Well, can we restructure the recommendation to say something to the effect that we approve with reservations? Or
no, I don't think there's any real way to do that. I just wanted to get it on record, just with some of the concerns I have, and I know they're shared by other mayors in the area as well with United Counties. So just something that it's going to be interesting to see how this is approved and for implementation, and how far this has to be set up before that deadline, because we're kind of running out of time on the deadline. And Matt, do you have more clarity on that, on what we need to actually finalize before July 1st?
So we have a meeting just after this one, but certainly that is a concern as to exactly what we have to approve and not approve. So I think one of my questions is, or one of my comments is, are we good with the plan with the exception of the implementation plan? And if that's the case, are we good with what the study said, what the outcomes were, that sort of thing? Then I think we can clearly say that we're happy with the plan. In terms of the implementation plan, that remains to be seen, but the tenets of which what I put forward as opposed to the county implementation plan, I was wondering if what I put forward as being an implementation plan for Prescott was more acceptable than kind of the larger bureaucratic one that was kind of put forward, that would have, in my mind, way too many people involved in trying to solve problems that are unique to local municipalities.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The only problem is with accepting the basics of the report, you kind of are accepting some of the conclusions as well, or approving them. And I don't think there's any other way to do this right now, and council will make the final call on it anyways. But it just that's just the concern I have, because I don't want to back us into a situation where we approve the report and as you're approving recommendations as well in there that could lead us down a path that I'm not sure we all want to go down. But we don't know yet. That's the problems. We don't know what the counties are going to approve, because they deferred on the administrative and the hire and all that. They didn't go that. But as far as I know, anyways, I don't know if they've had a follow-up meeting on that yet with county's council. So, but I know that through Roger, that was how it was left. So anyways, no, I'm fine with going ahead with the wording and everything else. Just, just wanted to express the reservations that I do have with the process and the future of the process.
Okay, it's recommended that the Prescott Police Services Board recommend that council approve the community safety and well-being plan as presented in the staff report. It's moved by Mike Ostrander, seconded by Brett Todd. All those in favor? It's carried. Moving on to old business. The detachment police service board proposal. Any comment on that? I was wondering, I noticed in the notes that in the structure of a 5-person board for Prescott, we have 2 community appointees and only 1 provincial, not the usual 2 provincial and 1 community. Is that what's been thought of? Or is that just a misprint?
No, it's under the new regulations, at least 20% of the board has to be provincial and 20% of the board has to be community appointed. So to avoid the issue that we're currently in, where we have 2 provincial appointees, where perhaps where we've gone without for over a year now. And so to try to avoid that, we would have 2 community representatives, so that if we were in a situation going forward where we didn't have an immediate provincial appointee, that we would still maintain 4 out of 5 members, as opposed to the 3 out of 5 that we see ourselves within right now.
So even though we have before the sole general, we've asked for the 2 provincial appointees. If they appoint them in the next little while and then switch to the new proposal, what then?
So
Is
these
one of
are, my understanding is these wouldn't roll out till 2022, but we could make a transition period for this time, because perhaps Lindsay can weigh in on this, but PSB board members, are they for the term of council?
Mhm.
In which case it would end in 2022 anyways. So
Okay. All right. Any other?
Just the one comment on that, Mr. Chair, is I believe this has been endorsed by Edwardsburg Cardinal already as a council, I think on Monday night. Augusta, however, turned it down at their special council meeting. I think it was Tuesday. And that may be going for reconsideration, but Augusta at present, Augusta has turned this down. Not going to speak for the motivation of the one council member who spoke against it. But so there are some concerns there in terms of implementation right now, but we'll see where that goes. I know we are talking behind the scenes about this to try to possibly get this back before Augusta Council for reconsideration, because I think there's a good acknowledgement by the parties that this is a good deal. So we'll see where that goes. But I did want to make sure I noted that this morning, that it may be a little up in the air right now with Augusta's vote the other day.
Okay. Anything else? Well, that's it. Then we will, it's recommended that we adjourn.
just before that, would the PSB board like to move that be forwarded to council for final adoption?
Oh, okay.
I'll move that, Mr. Chair.
Seconded.
Obviously, all those in favor. Do we have to have another recommendation? Or is that?
For you, Mr. Chair, I believe if the board feels comfortable with Matthew's wording, that's fine, that that it be forwarded to council for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? No. Well, it's recommended that this meeting adjourn to Thursday, June 24th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. Could I have a mover? Seconded.
Seconded.
Thank you. Moved by Mike, seconded by Brett. All those in favor, obviously. And the time is 8:59. We'll see you on Thursday.